Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey. Do you know how awesome it is to complete a set, a series? It feels pretty awesome. Go ahead and ask me. There's my answer. It feels pretty awesome. We've done it on the 6M numerous times. We complete a trilogy. We complete an entire run. We've done all the Avengers. We've done parts 1, 2, and 3 of Iron Man. We've done all 3 Captain America. We've done Thor. We've done, the Ant-Man films. I don't think we've done the last one. Interesting. We may have to hit that one. Or maybe we just won't for various reasons. But not just the Marvel stuff, kids, but we've done other things as well. To complete a set is awesome because, you got your bookends, you got your first and your last chapter and everything in between, right? Well, going into this particular episode, there's my big setup to say this. We're not quite done with the set yet. I know what you're thinking. Tom, this is Beverly Hills Cop Part 3. How are you not done with the set? Well, at least we forget to mention there is a Part 4 being done as we speak for the Netflix. So we will see what happens with that. We've alluded to it. We've mentioned it in our first 2 reviews of Beverly Hills Cop Parts 1 and Part 2. But now, again, in terms of the official theatrical release, Beverly Hills Cop series, we are completing the set here today with Part 3. Let's get into it, kids. Beverly Hills Cop 3 is a 1994 American action comedy film starring Eddie Murphy and directed by John Landis, who had previously worked with Murphy on Trading Places and Coming to America. Trading Places in the archives, kids. You need to go check that one out. It is the 3rd film in the Beverly Hills Cop franchise. That's right, Eddie Murphy is back with an assorted cast of characters, a lot of whom you'll recognize, some of whom you will not. Written by Stephen E. D'Souza, based on characters created by Danilo Bach and Daniel Petrie Jr., produced by Mace Newfield and Robert Ream. Music here by Nile Rodgers, the legendary Nile Rodgers. Let's get that straight. Distributed by Paramount Pictures. Release date May 25th, 1994. Running time 104 minutes. The budget for this one is $50 million. The box office $119.2 million. Not quite the impressive numbers that we had with the first or even the second film. That's your lowdown, kids, at least we forget to mention. But we knew that going into this today, Phil, that Part 3 is not quite what Parts 1 and Parts 2 are or were or whatever. It's just a shade different color, just maybe a step down. Not to set you up here or anything, but what's your overall view of Beverly Hills Cop 3 and how long has it been since you've seen this film?
I've said every time we do one of these that I've seen Beverly Hills Cop 3 the most out of any of these movies because it was on TV a lot. It was definitely on cable a lot at one point. It's the worst of the 3 movies. I don't think that I'm being harsh in saying that. I think that it is. It's not a bad movie, but in comparison to the other 2, it's the worst of the 3.
Totally agree, dude. Right out the gate, as this film starts, it feels weird. It's there's so much to get into here.
You're not with the carjackers and they're singing Diana Ross.
Yes. They're choreographed, Phil. They're choreographed.
Yeah, very, very odd scene. The bad guy of this movie is very cartoonish as well.
Oh my God, big time. And dude, John Landis is big time director. Director. But man, this is not a good movie, dude.
Yeah, like I said, I'm still entertained by it, but yeah, it's not as good as the other 2.
For sure. Yeah. It starts off in this garage and the mechanics they're all bopping away to this song and they're like choreographed and lip syncing and it's like a stage production. We don't know who the cops are that's with Axel. His lieutenant is out there. The inspector, he's back. We don't see him for very long. That is utterly ridiculous, by the way he checks out. It's effing terrible. Like,
yeah, the way he dies is so weird because he gives this line, and it's not even like he's dying. Like, you don't see any like anguish or anything on his face. He's just like, Axel, what are you on a coffee break?
Yeah.
Go get this guy. He just said it all with a straight face, and then he just like dies. Like, he does the whole dramatic pass away thing, and I'm just like, okay, this is a thing that happened. And then
shot 3 times.
And then Eddie Murphy's reaction to it makes it even funnier because he like pulls him in close and he does like the dramatic no.
The dude got shot 3 times, Phil. I don't know.
Yeah.
In my part of the world, yeah, that's ugh.
Well, he got shot once in like his chest or his torso somewhere, and then as he was laying on one of the cars or something, he gets shot like 2 or 3 times in his back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely made sure to let you know this guy is dead.
Oh, we're all over the place here. We're already diving into it, but let me give you this. As we kick off, kids, asked in 1989 about a 3rd installment, Murphy said, quote, "There's no reason to do it. I don't need the money, and it's not going to break any new ground. How often can you have Axel Foley talk fast and get into a place he doesn't belong? But these MFers are developing scripts for it. They're in pre-production. The only reason to do a Cop 3 is to beat the bank, and Paramount ain't going to write me no check as big as I want to do something like that. In fact, if I do a Cop 3, you can safely say, ooh, he must have got a lot of money," end quote. So.
Well, sounds like he got a lot of money.
Sounds like he got a lot of money. Oh, man. Yeah, this is not a fun flick. Listen, there's not a lot of fun here, and the fun moments are few and far between. It's the story is thin, the plot's weird. Oh God, dude, it almost feels like a fan film. It almost feels like if you gave normal folks an opportunity to do a version of what they think Beverly Hills Cop should be, this is what they would come up with. It's just not. He feels like, I don't want to say he feels like a cliche, but there are moments when I'm like, this doesn't feel right at all, dude. I got that a lot through this film.
Yeah, it's a weird premise. I mean, even the start of this movie, like you said, the whole mechanics thing, and you've got the main bad guy comes in with his guys and wipes all of these guys out. Even in the way they're dying, it's just so, it looks like you just have like one reaction shot after the other. I cannot understand why you're in this chop shop and these guys are getting shot, and you're turning around from what you're doing while these guys are getting shot, and you're just like, oh no, and then get shot too. Why don't you try to run? You hear these guys getting shot. Like, there's no way you can't hear these guys getting shot. Why are you just still like trying to paint this car, for example? The one guy that was in the room trying to paint the car.
Yes.
He turns around and gets shot, and he's like, no! Like, well, you heard everybody else getting killed. Why didn't you run?
And these machine guns didn't exactly have silencers on them.
No. That whole opening sequence is just so strange. And I mean, main bad guy, like I said, kills the inspector. Never once tries to cover up the fact that it's him. Never tries to cover his face or run away. He shoots him, turns around and looks at Axel right in his eyes and just looks like, yep, I did it. Gets in the car and drives off.
Yeah. God, this is really bad. Really bad.
Yeah.
Gil Hill, kids. If you've listened to the first 2 episodes, you know the Gil Hill, Inspector Douglas Todd. He's the real deal, true to life, American politician, police officer, and actor. He was the president of the Detroit City Council. He was an inspector on the Detroit Police Force. This is all very, very true. And he was promoted to detective, assigned to the homicide division the following year. And his big claim to fame at the time when he was an officer was that he was involved in the investigation surrounding the Atlanta child murders in 1979 that ultimately resulted in the trial and conviction of Wayne Williams. Again, kids, this guy's the real deal. And listen, the first 2 movies, Phil, he's wholly believable because he's just basically playing himself with an edge, I guess. But here, he's checked out quick. And The death scene is ridiculous. I don't feel it. It doesn't. When Ronnie Cox got shot in part 2, I felt that. That felt, you know what I mean? That had an impact. And by the way, speaking of Ronnie Cox ain't in this movie.
Yeah.
Captain Bogomil. They don't even mention him.
Yeah, they don't mention Bogomil. I didn't even think about that. This time around, it very much felt like, because we've seen this premise more than once of someone in Axel's life getting murdered, and that's the thing that sends him off to L.A. and the Beverly Hills. It's kind of like, all right, well, it just felt so cliche to kill him in that way, because it was like, all right, we needed somebody to kill to make this serious and give you the reason why Axel was going to California for revenge again. It just kind of felt very derivative.
Yeah, it is. And like, I think we made this point in part 1, I believe, that to be a friend of Axel Foley is like being a friend of Dirty Harry. You might get shot eventually.
Yeah, I wasn't. I think it's also the way he dies, just how bad the acting is in that scene. It's just very glaring.
Oh, it's really bad, dude. It's really, really bad. Actors that typically turn in really good performances are not exactly killing it here, and we'll get to that. By the way, speaking of Captain Bogomil himself, Ronnie Cox, who was not mentioned, apparently he and also Taggart are not in this film, but Taggart has addressed that he had apparently retired.
He's in Phoenix.
He's in Phoenix fishing, apparently, or whatever it is he's doing.
They still have the same picture of Rosewood and Taggart and Foley, and all 4 of them going fishing is on Rosewood's desk.
Yeah, good point.
When they show him in his office when we first see him, he has that picture on his desk.
Very true. But John Ashton as Taggart is not here. They explain away. They don't explain Captain Bogomil's absence. They don't even mention if there is a captain. We never see a captain. We don't know about a captain. We don't know anything of the sort. In an interview, this is good, you'll like this. In an interview in 2012, Ronnie Cox said, "They wanted me to be in Beverly Hills Cop 3, but I read the script."
Well, we had it.
Hoy! That's fun. Yeah. During the script's early drafts, the plot concerned Foley, Rosewood, and Taggart going to London to rescue Captain Bogomil, who's being held hostage by terrorists during International Police Convention.
Oh, God.
Yeah, such a problem such as scripting issues and budgeting caused pre-production to slow to the point, yes, where John Ash and Ronnie Cox both had to drop out. Listen, dude, it's when you mess with the formula of a franchise that's working, that's strike one. Isn't that strike one for this movie when you remove 2 elements of the previous 2 films that worked?
Yeah, and you don't really do it in a interesting way.
That's one of the problems. The replacement that we got, Hector Elizondo, is a fine actor. The guy's been in Hollywood for years. He's had a heck of a career. He's done everything. But I didn't feel this at all. Like, no disrespect to him, but man, it kind of... Did it feel like he was checked into this movie at all to you? Did it feel like he was invested, maybe? I don't even know.
I guess I've seen it so many times that I've just kind of overlook it at this point. But yeah, he just does in several scenes just seem like he's kind of there to give very cliche responses, like when he first meets him, "Hey, by the way, Foley, we do things by the book out here."
Jesus.
And it's like, all right, we've seen this movie, we've seen this concept 3 times. Like, he's not going to do that. So, it just feels like he's just there to do that.
Yeah, I've heard about you, Foley. By the way, we do things. I thought you just said you'd heard about him. Do you not understand how this works?
Apparently not.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was really, really bad. Yeah, again, it just, no disrespect to him, it just doesn't feel like he's dialing into this at all. But maybe, I don't know, dude, maybe he realized just how bad this film was as they were filming it and said, nah, I got paid. I'm going to give you what I'm going to give you, but that's going to be it. I'll be honest with you, there's several moments when I kind of half expected him to be a heel.
Yeah, I could have seen that. I could have seen him being like a mole or like a dirty cop at some point. But yeah, he was just kind of there to do reactions like, Axel, and then hop in his car and put the siren on top, or of course something's happening at Wonderworld. I mean, the fact that Wonderworld is such a big setting in this movie is very funny to me, and not in an intended way. It just was like, who came up with this idea? Like, I don't know.
Did it not feel like I kept wanting to call it Wally World, like from National Lampoon's Vacation?
Yeah, Wally World, Dad. Wally World.
Dude, I haven't seen this Beverly Hills Cop 3 in years. I had forgotten a lot of this, actually.
No, I think about the cartoon characters doing that theme music, doing the theme music all the time for some reason. It's like the Disney-esque Wonderworld music that plays over the loudspeakers in the park. I think about it quite often. Or just the hokiness of them deciding, man, Axel is such a hero. We're going to create another character for him. Axel Fox.
Axel Fox.
Confetti.
Oh my, that's pretty effing terrible. I don't know.
Yeah, the ending of this movie is it's funny. It's funny in a very unintentional way. It's funny in such a hokey way.
I mean, when the main star is flat out telling you, I just don't see a third film here, and you go and make a third film, it may not end up very well at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it. What about the villain? Timothy Carhart as Ellis DeWald. I think they said DeWald 500 times during the course of this film. Just his last name. Like, I don't know. He's like the typical yuppie, like the clean cut, always wearing a suit, evil corporate bad guy. So easy to hate. Yeah. What do you think about Timothy Carhart here?
He's very cartoonish. The fact that on several occasions he's got this very punchable face. He's got this big, wide, annoying grin that just makes you not want to like him. And he does several things where he just has like this straight resting face that's just like, I hate this guy. He hasn't even done anything yet, and I just hate him. Like the first time we see him on screen, and he's negotiating the deal with the carjackers, I'm just like, yeah, this guy. I don't like this guy from initially, just first impression of him, just don't like him. And he does a few things in this movie that, again, make you just like, yeah, I hate this guy. When he comes in there and Axel sees him for the first time after he gets to L.A. and he comes walking in the room. That's him. That's the killer. Because, again, like I said, didn't try and hide his face at all. He's just like, yeah, I killed him. Kills a cop and is just like walking around like nothing happened. Not even worried about it. But walks in the room and he's just like, no, it wasn't me. I was in my house in Laguna during that weekend. I was vacationing.
God.
And then Axel gives one of the funniest responses of the movie. He's like, yeah, you're right. It probably wasn't him. And then he goes to lunge at him again. He's like, motherfucker, house in Laguna.
Oh, man.
Or when they're at the award dinner for him and he gets up in unison with all these kids that are, for some reason, all dressed in like these light blue tuxedos. They all get up in unison and turn right to the camera and wave and sit back down. It looks so hokey and ridiculous.
Oh, it's so bad. Yeah.
And he's on stage accepting this award, and Axel does his Eddie Murphy thing, which Eddie Murphy has done several scenes like this where, you know, he yells somebody's name and he's just like, Ellis DeWald. Ellis DeWald. Y'all give it up again for Ellis DeWald. Like, it sounds, I mean, I kid you not, you could put this like right up there with his scene from Golden Child where he's like, Viva La Paul, N-E-P-A, Viva La Paul. It's the same cadence and everything.
It is.
We've seen him do that version of a scene before, but then he goes up and he hugs him, and the guy's like, man, what are you mad because I shot your boyfriend? And then he's just like, just start punching the guy on stage.
And I guess if you wanted to be like, oh, I got to explain this, I guess you could make the argument that Stephen McHattie, who plays Agent Fulbright, Secret Service, by the way, spoiler alert, he's a heel as well, but by the time the end of the film gets here, we don't care. But, like, I didn't care. I mean, honestly, they didn't even build that up, but, like, it kind of made sense why he kept wanting Foley to leave the guy alone because he's in on it with him.
He kept popping up at the most coincidental times. Like, you got this big car chase going on, and he just stops Foley in mid pursuit. Like, hey, stop there. Like, hey, come over here and talk to me. And it's like, well, wait a minute. The cop got murdered. And he's saying this the whole time. And the guy's just like, nah, it doesn't matter. Come over here and talk to me. I am a Secret Service agent.
And by the way, would the Secret Service be in charge of investigation like that?
Seems like a federal investigation.
I think so.
I had always assumed, as many times that I've seen this movie, that he was an FBI guy. Yeah. And I think at one point I saw it and I was like, wait, he's not a Fed? It's kind of interesting. Okay.
Yeah, aren't they supposed to be like protecting the president or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the jurisdiction. But who probably does know the jurisdiction is Mr. Green Lines himself, Rosewood.
Oh, my God. And that big honking title he's got for himself.
Was it DDOJIOSC or something like that?
Oh, my God. Well done. I think you're right. Let's see.
I told you I've seen this movie more than others.
Deputy Director of Operations for Joint Systems Interdepartmental Operational Command.
Yeah, okay. So it's JSOIC, not JIOS.
JSIOC.
Yeah.
Jeez. Hey, kids, Tom Clark here, and did you know the very podcast you're listening to right now is available on boinkstudios.com. BOINK, Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com. JESUS is what I say. Because, man, that's like, that was a bit of comedy that was fine, I guess. Rosewood is that he's the shaky, good-hearted cop that's kind of dumb. So, okay.
Yeah.
But I kind of think it would have made a little bit more, not sense in terms of, oh, this could happen, but more sense for this film if he had just been the chief.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been hilarious and also would have explained a lot, too.
Yeah, but you had to give him like this cumbersome joke title. And I do think it was funny that he used all the manpower at one point to search that green truck, and then there was nothing in it. Just the visual of him calling all these cars in from all these different jurisdictions was really, really funny. And the fact that afterwards he was like, yeah, I'm all washed up, man. I'm finished. Yeah. And then the way it was like, oh, cause you went to jail. No, because they were upset that I used all that manpower for some reason. Like, yeah, for some reason.
I mean, there's just this dude. This movie has plot holes you could drive a truck through, and they're all through it. And it's just, yeah. I don't know. I remembered it was rough to watch, but I didn't remember it being this bad. But man, this is not a good movie. Like, and Eddie, as great as he is, cannot. The best actor on the planet can't save a horrible script, and that's exactly what's going on here, dude.
Yeah. Another funny Rosewood scene is, of course, him showing up at Wonderworld and shooting the one guy on the bridge, and then he does like a stereotypical cop roll into another shot and shoots that other guy, and it's like, man, Rosewood's really good at his job. He's heroic, and then he ends up getting shot anyway.
And like,
shot the shoulder.
What happened to the character's fascination with weapons? We just completely ignored that in this movie, didn't we?
Yeah, I thought for sure he was going to be the guy that bought the big gun from Serge. I thought that was going to be the gag that he pulled up with that. I mean, it was funny when Eddie did it, but I think it would have been even funnier if Rosewood pulled up with it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And can we recognize for a moment that when Eddie has the big honking gun at the end, that the two dudes are out in the open and he gets up to fire, and when it doesn't fire, he has to take cover behind the park bench. So the two guys just stand there. Then he tries again and it doesn't work. So he takes cover behind the park bench and the two guys just stay in their spots and nothing changes. And this happens like 4 times. I'm like, what are we doing?
I mean, I think that's supposed to be what makes that scene so funny, is that they're so confused as to what he's actually doing that they're just standing there looking at him blankly. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Looney Tunes, where Wile E. Coyote would have this big device where he try and trap the Roadrunner, and the Roadrunner would just be kind of looking at him like, what are you doing? And waiting for it to blow up in his face. That's what it looked like to me. Like when he comes up the first time and he shoots that big net out of it, and it just falls on the ground, and they just all just kind of look at it like, what was this supposed to be?
Oh yeah, it was. And by the way, that park bench, that thing must be made out of like vibranium or something, because Eddie was fine, never took a bullet.
Yeah, no, he's just hiding behind this park bench. All these shots going off, and he just still has enough time to get up and have a gag with this big gun. And I forgot the name of it. What?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember.
The something 2000.
Yeah, because we see Serge or Sergey.
Serge.
That's it.
Serge. You try to pronounce my name, Serge. Serge sounds like a detergent.
Yeah. He was the best part of this movie. Bronson Pinchot was the best part of the best part of this movie, dude, by far.
Yeah. Serge.
Yeah. Yeah, this was not pleasant to watch, kids, in case you haven't put two and two together yet. If you haven't watched this movie, let me tell you something, you're in for it. There's so many scenes that don't make any sense to me. So much stuff that it just looking at it independently, it doesn't make any sense. Looking at it through the context of the movie, it doesn't make any sense. So many weird scenes that we see.
Yeah, that's what it is. The Annihilator 2000.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah, the Annihilator 2000. I mean, just the name of it is also ridiculous.
Of course.
Yeah, I like his explanation for that other gadget that he gives them, where he's like, it looks like a keychain, but it flashes the light. And he's like, yeah, it was made by a Navy SEAL that never smiles. Every time I see him, he's dead serious, and his pants are never the correct size.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we didn't get enough Sergey. But here's a scene I'm talking about that, like, during the inspector's funeral, his widow is in the car, and Eddie Murphy says, his last words are about you, and she says, that does not sound like my Douglas, Axel. Try again. And so then Eddie tells her exactly what the inspector said, and then she chokes back the tears to go, that sounds like my Douglas. What are we, what?
Like, yeah, and then he goes, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Like, again, we start with this premise and then cut to scene with him in Beverly Hills.
Yeah. Funny how we just keep ending up in Beverly Hills. I don't know. I don't get it. There's a lot of scenes like that through the course of this movie that just feel weird and feel like, oh, this is not great.
Same premise all over again. Like, I would have loved for somebody next to him at one point go, oh, this guy lives in, let me guess, Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Bad guy just always somehow goes from Detroit to California every time.
Every time. Well, if he doesn't, there's no movie. What about when he shows up at Rosewood's door and Rosewood opens the blinds and screams like it's a horror movie? Like he's scared. Like,
Axel.
We got to do physical comedy here in this movie because I'm an idiot, you know?
Yeah, no, again, I've seen this movie so many times that I just chuckle at so many parts of this because I've seen it dozens of times.
Yeah.
Just his whole, come in, and he just keeps knocking over and over again.
Yeah. Hey, here's something they changed up for once there, Phil. Axel did not end up in a place that he lied about staying in.
No, he was staying in that motel that, for some reason, Uncle Dave and the love interest for this movie just happened to be able to just get in his room somehow. I still don't know how they got in there. They
just walked right in.
He got there, and his door was cracked, and he walked in as Uncle Dave and said love interest. How did they get in there?
How'd they get in there? And why'd they just leave the door cracked, by the way? Who does that? Shut the door.
I guess they wanted him to know they were there. What? Yeah. Oh, my God, Uncle Dave. I almost shot Uncle Dave.
Alan Young. That's Alan Young as Uncle Dave Thornton. Was a British and American actor, comedian, and radio and TV host whom TV Guide called the Charlie Chaplin of television. Wow.
I like to think that Uncle Dave was somehow like a mix of Dave Thomas, the Wendy's guy, and Walt Disney.
Yeah. By the way, he was Wilbur on Mr. Ed.
There you go.
I had no idea. Jeez. That guy was British. Shut up. Yeah.
What did they keep asking him if he did? What did Rosewood ask him if he did when he met him? The high ho shuffle or something like that. The Okie Dokie shuffle. That's what.
Okay. Yeah. And look, let's rewind the episode here for a second. This DeWald character is the head of security for this park. I mean, that's what he is. He's not the owner.
Yes.
He's the head of the park security.
Yes. He's this big yuppie looking mustache twirling bad guy.
Yeah.
Is the head of security, and his big scheme is counterfeiting.
Yeah. With these huge printers, and of course they've got a plan. Axel sees this and they cover it up, and yeah, I don't.
Oh my God! When he walks in and he like goes through the whole motions of being in the elephant costume, and then he finds the room they're in, and he's like standing on this he's standing on this big panel, watching them print them, and he's smiling because he's like, "Yeah, I got them." And the reason why DeWalt knows he's there is because he just sees him like in his big mirror. It's clear as day standing behind him. It's so ridiculous.
DeWald can see him, but Axel can't see that he's in a mirror.
He can't see that he's on this big, huge mirror. It's not like he sees him out of the corner of his eye on his glass. It's this big, huge mirror that's sitting on the wall.
Oh, that's really
so
bad.
It's so funny because the wall looks at it, and you can see in the mirror the Axel's like nodding, like, "Yeah, got these guys."
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Oh my God! And then like his whole way of getting out of that room is just like, "These, you sure these guys are security guys? These are like the most incompetent security guards ever." The one guy that the running gag is that he keeps punching him in the nose the entire movie.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous, man.
All right, so Hector Elizondo's character was supposed to have called the park and set everything up for Axel. Did we ever get it addressed that he never called the park to set up Axel's visit to begin with?
Yeah, that's never really addressed. He comes there, he's not on the list, ends up having to pay to get in there, and then he just somehow finds the door that goes to corporate because, of course, if you go to any theme park, there's just a door with a sign next to it that says corporate offices.
Right. Yeah. Listen, that was what planted the seed for me. Well, this Elizondo guy, he's bad news. He must be on the take.
Yeah.
Detective John Flint.
Maybe he was just like, I'm not cooperating with this guy. I'm not getting him in there. I'm just talking.
Maybe he's just a, incapable, inept cop. We've seen that before a time or two.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I love that our bad guy, DeWald, also says more than once in this movie, "I used to be a cop. I know how you guys think."
Yeah.
And again, he's just very smug and annoying every time you see him.
Yeah.
He's always got that same security suit on, and his entire crew has the same suits on, so it looks even more ridiculous. Okay, there's so many scenes where they're all dressed the same. They all like turn around in unison. They're all like walking up to him and like trying to fight Axel one by one like stormtroopers, and just like bumble around and get knocked down. It's ridiculous, man. Again, there's so many scenes in this that are just so ridiculous that they're funny. Like this big scene where Axel saves the kids from the cage ride, the spider. That's the name of the ride.
Oh my God.
He's like jumping. First of all, it's very clear that this is a Six Flags, right?
Right.
Because I believe at the time in the 90s, that ride is a Sylvester and Tweety ride, and that's why they're cages, because it's a bird cage. Why is this ride called the Spider? Like, there's nothing remotely connected to spiders on this ride. So anyway, the ride's a spider, and he's like jumping from cage to cage to get these kids, and then he like out of nowhere finds some rope. I don't know where he finds this rope from. And he's just like, yeah, we're going to slide all the way down on this rope. Yeah. goes through this whole saving the kids thing, and then right afterwards, security just dives on this guy. In no way does that feel realistic. This guy was a hero.
And the crowd just let it happen. No one said, "Hey, leave that guy alone."
Nobody booed or jeered. Like the mom was like, "Wait a minute, he saved my kid's life." Nothing. They just dove on this guy immediately, and next thing you know, he's back in the back. And I'm just like, I thought several times where they hemmed this guy up and brought him back in the room. I'm just like, boy, they sure have had many times to just take this guy in the back and kill him.
And it was the henchman that screwed the ride up to begin with by messing with the control panel.
Yes. That's why I was like, all of this is just so cartoonish, man.
And by the way, are you so heartless as henchmen? There's kids hanging out of one of these cars. There's women in danger. Like, you don't have kids? None of you bad guys have kids at home. None of them stopped and said, "What have we done?" Like, they didn't care at all.
Several eyewitnesses. You're acting like Foley's this guy that's starting all this trouble at this park every time. Several eyewitnesses see this guy screw up the ride, and he was the cause of it. Several eyewitnesses see security guards shooting at him.
Yes.
When he comes out and uses the phone at that one point, and the guy is just like trying to inconspicuously shoot him with that gun with the silencer on, I'm like, nobody saw this guy shoot in broad daylight.
Broad daylight. A lot of this movie's in broad daylight when people could have made a phone call and said, "This doesn't look right."
In a crowded theme park, nobody sees this guy like shooting in broad daylight. Nobody saw anybody fire a shot until Axel starts shooting his gun in the air at that one point.
Yeah. What about down below in the bowels of this park when that security guard jumps over the railing like freaking Batman?
I forgot about that. About that. I think that's the first time he goes backstage, and the one guy shoots at him, and then the other guy just like jumps off of this railing.
Yes,
and lands on him.
Dude, Axel gave this guy, a freaking Daniel Cormier knee to the face. Okay. And the other guy says, "Come on, let's get after it." He just gets up. There's no blood. There's no broken nose, no missing teeth. I'm like, dude, that guy's out cold if he's anything.
Oh, my God, man. Yeah, no, these henchmen are hilarious, man. The way he dispatches these henchmen several times, I'm like, are you sure these guys are security, man? Because they're pretty bad at this.
I think listen, I think you said it right. These guys are stormtroopers without the suits. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
No, they all have those blue suits on with the red tie. They're red shirts. They're red shirts. They're red ties. That's what they are.
Red ties, yeah. We did get some cameos in the theme park. We got George Lucas. And I'm like, listen, if you're George Lucas, you got two big regrets in your life. Selling the Star Wars franchise and being in Beverly Hills Cop 3. Which one do you regret the most? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
What a very arbitrary cameo.
Yeah.
He's trying to get on the spider because that's what George Lucas would be doing in Wonder World, trying to get on the spider. And Axel Foley jumps in front of him in line.
Oh, it's really bad. And like Foley, we had to spend time on it. It's got to be put over the fact that Foley had no fear. Like, he's a good guy, Tom. Cool, whatever. But like, he's got like tennis shoes on that you assume are not brand new, which means there's probably no tread on the bottom. And he could have slipped and got killed at any moment, but somehow he stays upright when he's jumping in midair, thousands of feet above the ground.
Yeah, he's just jumping from cage to cage. He just does this incredible act of heroism.
Yes.
Gets down to the ground, on a rope. Glides all the way down on a rope. And then like these security guards just dive on him.
On a rope. How about when the stuffed animal fell from the car and it looked like a kid? Did you see what the crowd did? Oh, they stood back and let the thing hit the ground.
Yeah.
Like, for all you know, that was a kid. No one tried to go back and look. No one tries to catch the stuffed animal at all.
Yeah. There are several points in this scene and throughout the movie where it's very apparent that he's standing in front of a green screen.
Yes.
Even when he went inside the ride and the cages are going around in a circle, and it's going back and doing the reaction shots of him and other people. It's very apparent that it's in front of his green screen.
It's in front of a screen, but there's no green screen technology here. So it's just in front of, I guess, a screen of whatever was supposed to be behind him, right? Because there's no...
Yeah. And it happens several times. Like when they first show Wonderworld, and those balloons are like flying up in front of the camera, you can very much tell that behind the balloons, it's green screen. It's like it...
Yes.
It looks so fake. I mean, even, oh my God, when Sarah just showing his wares in the thing, he just stands out so much lighting wise. He's just so brightly. The lighting on him is so bright, and everything behind him, it just looks so flat. It looks the same way. It looks like he's standing in front of a green screen.
You always assume, at least I do, in those shots, those are shots that are done after, like principal photography. They're going back and doing some shoots, and they're getting moments they need for certain scenes. That's what I always assume. They just put you back in costume, put up a thing behind you, and film 20 seconds, and they say cut, and they move to the next thing.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. But there's several scenes in this movie that it looks very cheap for a movie that I'm sure cost a lot of money.
Yeah, it cost 50. I mean, the budget here is $50 million. And kids, let's go back in the Wayback Machine here to when we did part one. Part one, the budget was $13 million. It made $316 million. You know, thank you very much. Holy God in heaven. Part two, the budget was $27 million, so double the budget. It only, well, I say only made, it made $276.6 million. So it made under, right? But, you know, considerably larger budget was double. And then this one, $50 million, basically double the budget of the second one. So over 3 times the budget of the first film, and it made $119.2 million. So yeah. You know where all that money went to, Phil?
Creating the illusion that Wonderworld was a real theme park.
You're close. You're close. I suspect it all went into Mr. Murphy's wallet.
Oh,
so
yeah, that part too.
Yeah. What about Teresa Randall in the highly regrettable throwaway pretty little thing who's a damsel in distress that has no depth at all, could have been played by anybody. And by the way, that's, you know, she wasn't like she was insanely attractive. Let's don't forget that bit. And I thought maybe she was in on it as well, because all these characters are they're paper thin that you're like, it must be a villain. She's not a villain. She's just a damsel in distress who like asks him out on a date and then wants to make out with him in the end in a tunnel of love. Like,
yeah. Janice. What was her name, right?
Yes, Janice Perkins.
Janice. Yeah. All their scenes together are so odd. Like when she's showing him the map and like they're like distracted because they start staring into each other's eyes, and it's just like it just immediately made me think of the montage from Disney's Robin Hood, where it just goes into like this this like song and everything, and it's just like, all right, which goes back to Axel Fox.
All right. First of all, you and I are friends. I'm going to let this horrible comparison to a great film like Disney's Robin, I'm going to let this slide. But I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, Axel Fox.
Yes.
It's Wonderworld, man. It's a Wonderworld's version of Robin Hood. But yeah, no, there's so many awkward scenes with them together, and it's not that she's bad. No, the acting is bad. It's just what they're asking them to do is just so odd. Like after the scene where he asks her on a date, he asks her to go to dinner with him after this is all over, and he's like, "Yeah, put the map down, put it right in here." And then he puts the head back on. He's like, "Remember, an elephant never forgets." And she just goes, "Okay." After the scene. After the scene. Okay.
Did you find it funny that all the guys in the mascot suits down below at the table playing poker all had their heads on?
Yes, they all had their heads on, and they all had like stereotypical like New Yorker construction accents. Like, "Hey, yes. I'm working here."
In Beverly Hills, no less.
Yes.
Oh. Tom Clark 6M Podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark 6M Podcast sent you. Speaking of cameos there, we got the Reverend in this movie. I forgot all about Al Green being in this movie, dude.
Yes, he was singing at the funeral at the beginning.
Best part of the movie. If not for Al Green and Bronson Pinchot, this movie's highly forgettable. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, but Teresa's not bad here.
No. She's fine.
Very easy on the eyes.
Yes.
It's kind of not believable that she like works backstage in like the security setting, and it's like she's supposed to believe that like she's the one employee that sees all of this as strange, and it's like, hey, what's going on here? And then also somehow knows Uncle Dave. Like, how is that possible?
Yeah. And Uncle Dave was pretty okay with having a gun drawn on him, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was just standing there while it was happening. Like, he never was like, oh my God, what are you going to do with that? He's like, nope, just going to get shot and fall down.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty freaking bad. Pretty freaking bad.
Yeah, again, very cartoonish villain. He's just like, he sets up his whole premise of, and from the second he starts setting up the premise, it's like, yeah, he's going to shoot Dave. But he sets up this whole premise, and he's just like, yeah, and see, you shot Dave. And he's like, go ahead, take it. If you look at it, it's your gun. See, it's your gun.
Yeah, I'll just take the gun. I'll just take it. Like, why didn't they just knock him out? Why didn't he just knock Axel out and then call the cops? You know what I mean?
His whole plan is so ridiculous.
It's terrible.
His plan is so ridiculous. And it's just, after everything happens, the news gets around so fast, even though, again, you have to assume that there's eyewitness for all of this stuff. You're telling me there's no eyewitness that was there and corroborates, oh, that guy that you're all saying shot him? Oh, that's the guy that brought him to the hospital.
Right. Yes.
That never happens. No, on every screen, they're like, yeah, Axel Foley shot Uncle Dave. And then they show the footage of him shooting the gun in the air. And I'm just like, but even if you were there and you saw him shoot that gun in the air, you then could also corroborate that evidence with the same footage that the security guards came and dragged him away.
He shoots the gun in the air, lays the weapon down, and puts his hands up and allows himself to be arrested. Any normal thinking person would go, why'd he do that?
This is what I'm saying. This was Ferguson before it happened. His hands were up, man.
Woo. Yeah, no kidding.
His hands were up, man. And that's why I'm like, there's plenty of evidence that this guy did nothing wrong.
Right, of course. What about the bar of the white-haired white dudes who all look like alike, and they're all hanging out, drinking, watching this story? Then they all, at the same time, look back at the payphone where Axel was just making a call. Like,
yeah, it's just all so cartoonish and ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
they all look back at the same time, and then the payphone is just dangling there like he dashed out of the room with like a puff of smoke behind him.
Yeah, couldn't hang up the phone. Couldn't be bothered to hang up the phone. Don't forget that. So one of the other villains here that we haven't mentioned is John Saxon as Orange Sanderson. John Saxon, late John Saxon, had a huge career in Hollywood. The guy had been around forever, and you may not know his name, but if you see his face, you'll know who the guy is. He's been in everything through the years. I knew him as a kid from the $6 Million Man. Don't try to tell me that I'm too old. I don't want to hear it. Don't call me out. I love that show as a kid. I'm sorry. But he'd done a lot of stuff through the years, so he's perfectly fine here. He's a two-dimensional villain. Nobody really cares about two-dimensional villains. They're all through this movie anyway. But Bronson Pinchot is, I mean, again, dude, I can't give the guy enough praise. He was a breath of fresh air in a movie that desperately needed some fresh air. What did you think about the time they spent with Sergei having to show Axel and Billy this video? Like, that felt highly unnecessary, didn't it?
it felt like they were trying to milk as much comic relief out of him at the time, and get as much of an interaction between him and Axel. And it was funny, but parts of it was just like, boy, this is pretty inconsequential to this big cop dinner that they're at and this big award ceremony. At one point when he's describing the women in in this video, because it's like one of those weird like 90s NRA videos where you've got women in bikinis shooting guns for some reason. And so at one point he's like, yeah, she's my trainer. She can lift. She could, where you go? She could bench press 200 pounds.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay. Arbitrary information.
Yeah, this means nothing. Like, what are we doing here? This means nothing.
It was all set up for him to use the Annihilator 2000 later in the movie. That's it. I thought the whole keychain thing was going to come back and he was going to use the keychain later, and he never did.
Well, he used, at the end, remember it was like a flash grenade. It was like a flash.
Oh, he did. You're right. He did do it. Yeah.
Like a flashbang. Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many funny things about the third act as well. Again, this movie is very entertaining, and entertaining for reasons that it was not intended. But in the third act, when he finally comes to blows with the Wald, and they're going back and forth, and the Wald shoots him. Again, this guy is a head of security, used to be a cop. He almost misses Axel entirely, shoots him in his leg, and that leaves Axel long enough to take several shots and kill him.
Right. Yeah. And like everybody's dead. Like no one's left at the end of this film, are they? All the bad guys are dead at the end of this movie.
Oh my God. Secret Service guy walks in and he's like, man, I guess I owe you a apology for Axel. Then Axel just kind of flatly goes, yeah, but I found out somebody else was in on it.
Just like that. Didn't bother telling us about it. Didn't tell anybody else about it. Didn't even say he suspected anything. Just had it figured out on his own.
Yeah, just twist out of nowhere. Get by, Axel.
He holds the gun straight at his forehead, and we all know, Phil, if you get a gun held straight at your forehead, just knock it away.
Yeah, get by, Axel. Just, again, Secret Service guy against smart-talking guy, cop from Detroit. Just completely outsmarts him.
You can't handle the smart-talking, wisecracking cop from Detroit. There's no stopping him. Did you know John Singleton was in this movie?
Yes, I can't remember what scene he was in, but I remember he's in it. Isn't Sherman Hemsley also in this movie?
I don't see him.
I feel like he's in like a scene or something. I don't.
But Singleton's a fireman, but I don't see Mr. Jefferson anywhere. Yeah, the Annihilator girls. Julie Strain was one of the Annihilator girls. She was like in Penthouse. She was. Has she no longer with us? She's no longer with us. She passed away in 2021. Well, I didn't know that. Married to Kevin Eastman of Eastman and Laird, creator of the Teenage Mutant. What? Yes.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Her widow is Kevin Eastman.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's like, if you don't know, if you're listening for this is like very obscure. Kevin Eastman, actually creator of the comic book Ninja Turtles, not like the movies. Like this is a very deep cut if you know who this guy is.
Man, interconnected tissue that leads the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Beverly Hills Cop Part 3. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
We now need Shredder to attempt to kill all 4 turtles with the Annihilator 2000.
By the way, this Julie Strain thing, she went to Diablo Valley College, which sounds like some kind of made-up pro wrestling thing.
It does.
It's a public community college with campuses in Pleasant Hill and San Ramon and Contra Costa County, California. Oh, you're going to get your education. Get your continuing education, kids. I highly recommend Diablo Valley College. Very odd. Interconnected tissue. Joey Travolta, John's older brother, is in this movie as Giolito. I guess he's one of the guys at the beginning, like one of the henchmen. John Travolta's older brother.
Is he one of the carjackers?
I think he might be one of the singing mechanics.
Okay.
Oh, my. Yeah, it's pretty freaking bad. Hey, listen, that you knew you were in for something. Yeah, when they're choreographed, I just can't get over the choreographed dancing carjacker. I just can't get over it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we're supposed to take from that why Axel didn't want to call in a SWAT, because these guys are kind of a joke.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, because he didn't know what he was walking into, and he thought this is all there was.
Yeah. And
That's
so
fair.
you would think like this is an easy bus for him, and then he comes in and it's like a big slaughter.
Yeah. That part is okay, but like the rest of it, not so okay.
Yeah. He comes to the door and he's like, "Yeah, I'm here for the carjackers. My wife keeps acting up, and I'm trying to chop her car up."
Yeah. and also, we barely got just a taste of Axel F. And then we only got it. How many times we get in this movie? Not much, did we?
Yeah, we got like the dramatic version of it with like the like the horns and stuff with it. But yeah, it's 90s. It's no longer the 80s. We can't go with synthesizer music the entire movie.
Yeah. Harold Faltermeyer did not return. So yeah, his co-producer of the previous franchise entries, Keith Forsey, did produce and co-write a new song called Keep the Peace, performed by NXS, which they play at the beginning of this movie, I think.
Yes.
Nile Rodgers covered Faltermeyer's Axel F in a breakbeat hardcore version. So,
yeah, the Axel F that we hear throughout this movie is very like it has the big horns and stuff to it, and it sounds like bigger and dramatic. It sounds like theme park music. That's what funny. It sounds like the Wonder World music.
Yeah, and by the way, no Pointer Sisters here either.
No.
Oh, in case you're wondering, kids, Beverly Hills Cop 3 was criticized harshly and currently holds an 11% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's number 1 twice in the wrong direction.
Yeah, yikes.
Not good. Yeah. One of the reviews says, a return to form by Eddie Murphy that runs out of steam before the end. Brother, I submit they ran out of steam about 5 minutes in. I just don't. Yeah. Yeah. I just, yeah. And also, Landis nominated for 2 Golden Raspberry Awards for Worst Director. Yeah. Well, he's done much better stuff. I mean, listen, Landis, as we said, is a freaking legend. It's the truth. This guy directed Animal House, Blues Brothers, American Werewolf in London, Trading Places, Three Amigos, Coming to America. Holy Lord. You know, to do all of that and then you end up with this on your resume. Like, it's not going to kill you at this point, but hoy.
Yeah. I did finally watch Coming to America 2 over the weekend. Another very passable sequel. Yes. Wasn't terrible, but it was kind of one of those things where, did we really need this?
Right. Yeah. One of those when you come out of it, you're like, yeah, I don't know if I need to see that. They didn't really, nothing really got fixed here. There was nothing broken to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not fun. Sometimes, kids, as we've said in the 6M numerous occasions before, you can just leave things alone and it's okay. You don't have to go back to them. So, listen, we've spent an hour. I think I'm done here. But also, we got to go out on a high note. Tell me you have high expectations for Beverly Hills Cop 4. Tell me why this movie is going to slay. You can't wait to see it. It's going to right the wrongs of Part 3, and you can't wait. Sell me on it, Phil. Do it.
I don't think that I can. I think that it'll be interesting to see how they manage to get Eddie Murphy back into the setting again. But I can't say that I have high hopes for this movie. The fact that it stayed in production for as long as it did is not a good sign. This went from a movie that looked like it was going to have a box office release that is now going to be a Netflix exclusive. Another bad sign. Also bad sign that this went from a movie at one point to being a TV show that was kind of like, I guess, a spinoff because there was recasting and all this other stuff. I don't know, man. The fact that this thing has been in production hell as long as it has been does not bode well for it. I don't know how they're gonna manage. They're gonna manage to salvage this, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. Well, folks, I don't know if we've got anything left here. I think, and look, the intention of this was not to destroy this film. The intention of this was not to stop anybody from seeing it. If you're an Eddie Murphy fan, if you want to complete the trilogy, or if you haven't seen it in a while, hey, You're not getting any younger. Just go watch it. And, save your hate mail because I don't want to hear it. But we did warn you. So just, be advised. Listen, you and I both have said Golden Child is much better than what people give it credit for. I believe it is. I don't think this particular Eddie Murphy project holds up all that well. I just don't. I'm not feeling it at all. Basically, at the end of the day, I don't feel this movie.
As we started the show, I think it's an enjoyable movie for what it is, but it is definitely the worst of the three. It's definitely one of those movies that I question, why did it need to be made? But, money always trumps logic a lot of times in Hollywood. And if people think they can make some money off something, it will be made.
100%. 100%. Well, that's where we leave it, kids. There's your film. You're welcome. Someone had to do it, so we did it. So, yeah, now you can all rest easy tonight knowing that we covered Beverly Hills Cop 3 on this show. Phil, let's wrap this up. Give me your last word on Beverly Hills Cop 3.
This is probably what should have been the last installment of this franchise. It's funny for what it is, but boy, we did not need this.
Yeah, full agreement. We did not need this movie. Yeah, at all. I mean, I still maintain you could have stopped at part 1. It would have been great. I don't know that I needed a part 2. Part 2 is serviceable. It's fine. I enjoyed it. This movie part 3 did not need to happen. So, as Phil alluded to, Hollywood's got cash. They want to throw it. Actors will catch it. Stuff will get made. And that's how it rolls. So, not the first time we've covered an ill-advised sequel in the 6M. And I'll bet you it won't be the last. We'll see.
Not.
Nah. Well, I want to do part 4, dude, just so we can say we did the entire series. So for that reason alone, I got my fingers crossed, man. Maybe they'll find something worth talking about in part 4. Who knows? So there you have it, kids. Again, stay tuned. Part 4 coming eventually. Hang in there. In the meantime, go back and listen to part 1 and part 2. You may enjoy them a lot more than you enjoyed this one. And hang on for part 4 coming your way, well, eventually. In the meantime, that is Beverly Hills Cop Part 3. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.